You know, for thousands of years, in almost every culture, there's been this whisper of a promise that we humans can transcend our limits, that we can actually evolve. But what if that wasn't just some mystical idea? What if it was a biological potential, something literally written into our DNA? Okay, let's really get into this.
This ancient idea really sets the stage. It suggests that the path to a higher state of being isn't out there somewhere, it's deep inside our own bodies. So this whole quest isn't about finding something we don't have. It's about activating a process that's already part of our own physiology.
And right at the heart of this internal journey is this absolutely fascinating concept, the immortal fetus. For centuries, ancient traditions have talked about, well, gestating and birthing a spiritually perfect version of yourself. So the big question we're tackling here is this just a beautiful metaphor, or could it be a literal blueprint for human transformation?
The technical term for this is shengtai, which translates to sacred embryo. Now, this isn't just a piece of folklore. It's a core principle of what's called internal alchemy. The whole idea is that you can use your own body as a laboratory to, well, conceive, nurture, and give birth to an immortal, energetic version of yourself.
So to even begin to understand how this is possible, we need to do a little translation. We have to take this ancient wisdom and put it into the language of modern biology. We're going to look at the body's fundamental building blocks, what traditional Chinese medicine calls the three treasures, and see how they actually map onto our anatomy.
So these three treasures are Jing, which is our deep, foundational essence, Qi, our day-to-day vital energy, and Shen, our spirit, or our consciousness. You can kind of think of them as a spectrum, moving from the most dense and physical all the way to the most subtle and energetic. And the entire alchemical process is about refining one into the next.
And this is where it gets really cool, because we can draw a direct line to Western science. Jing, our essence, you can think of that as our genetic potential, our hormones, the raw biological stuff. Qi, our energy, well, that's the ATP being churned out by our mitochondria every single second to power ourselves. And Shen, our spirit, that's consciousness itself, the incredible, complex electrical storm in our brain that creates our sense of self.
So, how do we refine these treasures? Well, the very first step is to upgrade the body's fuel. The alchemical fire isn't magic. It's a metaphor for metabolism. It's all about shifting your body from burning, let's say, cheap, dirty fuel to a super efficient, high-octane power source.
And just look at the numbers here. It's absolutely stunning. If your body is just burning sugar without a lot of oxygen, you get a measly 2 ATP molecules. It's quick, but it's not efficient at all. Now add oxygen to the mix and you do a lot better, maybe 30 to 32 ATP. But the real alchemical gold medal goes to burning fatty acids. This process can pump out over 100 ATP molecules. We're talking about a stable, incredibly high-yield energy source needed to power this whole transformation.
Okay, so with our energy furnace seriously upgraded, the next step is purification. And we're talking specifically about the command center, the brain. This circulation of light that the ancient texts talk about, well, it requires a spotlessly clean neural environment to even happen. So let's look at the science behind this so-called brainwashing.
Think about it. Your brain is the busiest organ in your body, so it produces a ton of metabolic junk. But here's the catch. It doesn't have the normal lymphatic system, the body's garbage disposal service, to clean it out. So, how does it do its housekeeping? The answer is this incredible thing scientists only recently discovered called the glymphatic system. It's amazing. When we're in deep sleep, a hormone called norepinephrine drops way down. This actually causes the space between our brain cells to expand. And then cerebral spinal fluid, or CSF, rushes in and literally power washes away all the gunk. It's a deep clean for your brain every single night.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Normally, this powerful cleaning cycle is reserved for when we're completely unconscious in deep sleep. But is it possible to consciously flip that switch? Can we actually turn on this sacred plumbing while we're wide awake?
And all the evidence points to a massive yes. Research is showing that deep meditation does the two key things needed to activate the system. It tanks your norepinephrine levels, and it produces the exact same slow delta brainwaves you find in deep sleep. This is an absolute game changer. It means you could potentially trigger this profound brain cleansing cycle while you're fully conscious, actively purifying the very hardware of your awareness.
And this modern discovery just gives so much new weight to these old esoteric ideas. Thinkers like George Carey called CSF the oil of God, this sacred fluid that anoints the brain. And now science is basically showing us, yeah, this oil really is a critical ingredient for purification and neural health.
All right, our energy is refined, our brain is purified, the stage is officially set for the grand finale, the actual formation and gestation of the Shengtai, the spiritual embryo itself. Let's see how this is supposed to unfold.
Taoist alchemy lays out a pretty clear timeline. The first phase, the 100-day foundation, is all about turning that raw physical essence, Jing, into usable energy, Qi. The second phase, a symbolic 10 months of gestation, is about refining that energy, Qi, into luminous spirit, Shen. And the final stage? That's the egress, where the fully formed spirit goes beyond the physical body, returning to a state of universal consciousness.
You know what's so wild is that this idea of internal integration isn't just some ancient Eastern concept. We see an incredible parallel in modern Western psychology. The Taoist circulation of the light is about turning your attention inward to integrate your consciousness. Well, that sounds a lot like Carl Jung's active imagination, where you bring unconscious stuff to the surface to become a whole, integrated self. They're two different paths leading to the exact same place, a unified whole person.
And this isn't just some psychological theory, it has real, measurable signatures in the brain. When neuroscientists study advanced meditators, they find these extraordinary brainwave patterns you just don't see in normal life. Epsilon waves, even slower than deep sleep, linked to a state of near-suspended animation. Hyper-gamma waves, incredibly fast, associated with those peak moments of insight. And then there are lambda waves, which signal that the entire brain is working together in perfect sync. These are literally the electrical footprints of that sacred embryo coming online.
So what does this all mean when we put it all together? What we have is a model of human potential that brings together ancient alchemy, modern metabolism, neuroscience, and psychology, all into one incredible blueprint for transformation.
So the main takeaway is this. The immortal state isn't a fantasy. It's a potential state of our own biology, and it's defined by 4 key things. 1. Super efficient metabolism, running on high-yield fatty acids. 2. A brain that's constantly being purified by this enhanced lymphatic flow. 3. Whole brain synchronization, marked by those incredible lambda and epsilon waves. And 4. The deep psychological integration of the self, becoming that awakened whole being.
The Taoists had a name for this final state, Tuo Tai Huanggu. It means to be reborn from the original fetus and bones, to literally shed the limitations of your ordinary physical body so that this new, refined spiritual body can emerge. It is the ultimate biological upgrade.
And that really just leaves us with one final massive question. We've seen how the ancient spiritual maps line up with what we're discovering in our own bodies. The pathways, the fuel, the cleaning systems, it's all right there. So if the blueprint for this profound transformation is already built into our biology, it just forces you to ask, what are we truly capable of becoming?